Welcome everyone to another episode of Twisted News, where each week we cover creepy and strange stories that are currently happening all around the world. Today, we're moving away from some of the true crime topics and getting into some weird and fascinating stories that I think you're going to like. The first one is about a hotly debated topic among the scientific community about whether or not primitive hobbits still roam the earth, a distant relative to us that lies somewhere between ape and humans. And the other one is going to open your mind and perhaps bend it a bit as well, as we learn about a theory of how all this around us, me, you, and our entire world, and bear with me, could be a lab experiment created by aliens. Like and subscribe, please, before we jump into this one, and get yourself ready for Scary Mysteries Twisted News. Number 1. Ancient hobbits still alive. For something as old as the Earth, there are plenty of mysteries that scientists and experts alike continue to shed light on. One of the most well-known discoveries that continues to baffle and excite experts is the possibility or truth about human evolution. Scientists are still debating over this theory, though, particularly on the information regarding the evolution and extinction of these species. There are about 15 to 20 early human species that scientists have recognized, but identifying and categorizing these species are also always up for debate. This is why it's always thrilling to discover new evidence that could provide more information about this theory altogether. In general, scientists believe that most of these species not only went extinct, but also didn't leave behind descendants. In a book called Between Ape and Human, an anthropologist on the trail of a hidden hominid, writer and retired anthropologist Gregory Forth claimed that the early human species called Homo florensis might contradict that previous statement. For 3 decades, he was an anthropology professor at the University of Alberta in Alberta, Canada. Nicknamed the Hobbit, this early human species came from one of the more recent fossil discoveries just found back in 2003. They've been found in Indonesia on an island called Flores, thus its scientific name. According to scientists, they stood about 3 feet 6 inches tall, but they had large teeth and feet, thus the Hobbit nickname. They had small brains, but were known to make and use tools made out of stones, which were also found along with their remains. They hunted rodents and small elephants as well, and it's also possible that they used fire. Other distinctive physical traits of the hobbits were their receding foreheads, chinless faces, and shoulders that were shrugged forward. When the fossils underwent testing, it was discovered that they dated somewhere between 100,000 and 60,000 years ago, and their stone tools were probably made and used about 190,000 to 50,000 years ago. However, there's a possibility that this particular species actually survived, unlike the other early human species, and have been living in the forest of Flores Island, particularly in the region called Leo. Since 1984, Forth had been told about the sightings on the island of human-like creatures that were hairy and small. There was even one account from a man Forth interviewed. This individual said he disposed of a corpse of that very creature. The man described it as not exactly a monkey, but also not a human. He identified it as female and even mentioned having obvious breasts. Its body was covered in dense hair and was straight and light-colored. It also had a distinctive nose and a stub of its tail behind it. Forth was able to collect 30 eyewitness accounts that matched the description of the creature. When the discovery of the fossils of H. floresiensis was made in 2004, that was when Forth initially announced the connection he made. But the eyewitness accounts of the hairy humanoid creatures in the forest and the fossil of the H. floresiensis were connected and of the same species, and that there is the possibility that the hobbits were still alive. However, most of the experts in this field remain skeptical. They argue that it's impossible for creatures like them to maintain living undetected in this day and age. In 2014, other fossils were discovered on the island in a region called Matameng. The fossils were dated to about 700,000 years ago and were considered to be ancestors of the Hobbit fossil discovered on the island a decade ago. Man-made tools were also found on the gravesite. Due to this, as well as the age of the tools found, experts are considering the possibility that the Hobbits may have lived alongside modern humans for a time. There were also oral histories that seem to hint at that possibility as well. Scientists and experts are currently trying to determine what possibly happened on the island that led to the migration of the species from one region to the other. They are also trying to understand where exactly the ancient hobbits came from, as they have yet to discover other fossils of H. floresiensis outside of Flores. It may take some time before we'll ever get to know if the eyewitness accounts are true or not, but the fact that the possibility of ancient primates surviving in current times remains intriguing, especially for those in the field. It may someday change the way we see the world, especially our own kind. Number 2. Aliens created our universe. Ever wonder just how the universe came to be? It's safe to assume that almost everyone, if not all, has come across that question at least once in our lives. When you look up at the sky and see its vastness, you can't help but wonder just exactly how it happened. This is most likely what motivated a former Harvard University astronomer to try to understand just how exactly the universe was created. And according to him, highly civilized aliens may have whipped up the universe, which most likely happened in a laboratory. Abraham Loeb, also called Avi, suggested that it's possible that a highly intelligent and technologically advanced civilization created a so-called baby universe, which may explain why our universe has zero net energy and flat geometry. He also added that aliens were able to create the universe through quantum tunneling. Live Science described quantum tunneling as a phenomenon where an atom or a subatomic particle can appear on the opposite side of a barrier that should be impossible for the particle to penetrate. Imagine an extremely high wall that blocked your entire path, and the only way you can move forward is by climbing it using a ladder. That's what quantum tunneling is like. This statement of his, which was published in Scientific American, also seemed to support a notion that merges the religious and scientific aspects of creation. That there's a creator behind all this, combined with the use of the concept of quantum gravity in a secular sense. Because this creator civilization is so advanced, according to Loeb, they're able to combine gravity with quantum mechanics, unlike the human physicists of today. This even extends to the notion that civilizations could actually be ranked according to their advancement. Obviously, the alien creators belong to Class A, as they were able to create baby universes, one of which is where Earth is. Civilizations that fall under Class B are able to recreate or change the conditions of their environment to the point where they could be independent of the host star, which for Earth is of course the Sun. Loeb noted that the human race would fall into Class C due to our disappointing technological advancement, which results in not being able to adapt to changes should the Sun die, nor create our own baby universe. What's even worse is we could even qualify for Class D because of the fact that we're destroying our own natural habitat with the technology that we have created. It may seem like an offensive thought for humans to accept, but there is some truth in there as well. The fact that we are indeed destroying Earth instead of finding a means to preserve it, it's a scary thought to think about, just what may exactly happen when our planet finally reaches its limit. In addition to that, considering the possibility of much more advanced civilizations existing alongside us is also a scary thought. Those worries about aliens coming to either invade or destroy the Earth, or perhaps even the universe, may actually be considered factual or with basis. Knowing that there could possibly be a creator responsible for our existence invokes a different kind of fear, and one can't help but wonder, just how long are we all going to be allowed to survive in this universe? For exclusive content and access and a whole library of never-before-seen videos, head over to our Patreon page and show us some support, please. Links in the description below. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.